Full time at the Emirates, and it has finished Arsenal 0, Liverpool 2 in an absolutely massive win in the context of the Premier League title race. In addition, the Reds will move top of the league table before Man City play again, should they beat Watford after the international break. I'm Patrick Smith, and you're watching the Debrief live on the Blood Red YouTube channel, and I'm delighted to be joined once again by Matt Addison. So, Matt, how massive is that win?
Yeah, it does. It feels like a massive one, doesn't it? It's a win that Liverpool probably had to get. I think it was a game that they had to win. I mean, Arsenal played really well. I think Arsenal have been doing really well of late, but I think Liverpool did have to go there and win for all of the reasons that you've said there, and just psychologically as well. I think if they hadn't have won and they hadn't have capitalised on what Manchester City did on Monday night, then possibly that would have changed things a little bit. It didn't look brilliant first half. I'm sure we'll come to that. They didn't play particularly well. You're wondering, will it be Mohamed Salah that has to come off the bench? But in the end, two familiar goal scorers really for Liverpool against Arsenal, and I think they deserved it in the end. And I think, to be honest, it shows the difference, doesn't it, between a team trying to get into the top four and a team trying to win the league. And Liverpool have been there where Arsenal are. They've played well in certain games in previous seasons and maybe not quite done it against the very best teams, but it's the other way around now. Liverpool weren't particularly brilliant first half, but they got through that, and I think that's a huge sign really of why they are right up there with Manchester City. They are one of not just the best teams in this country, but one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah, get those red ribbons ready, I say. It wasn't a terrible first 10 minutes for Liverpool. So, they had a few chances, a few corners. But Arsenal did largely dominate the first half, didn't they? Was it more Arsenal good or Liverpool slow getting out of the blocks?
I thought they did okay the first couple of minutes, actually. As you said, they had the corners. They had a couple of different opportunities. But I don't know. I don't think Liverpool played particularly well, but Arsenal are a really good team. And I think they did really well to get bodies around and put pressure on. And I think in the second half, they maybe got a little bit tired. Obviously, Liverpool had managed to play around them a few times, but I thought they did really well, actually, to sort of stop the ball getting into Diogo or getting into Virgil van Dijk, where we know that he can play those balls from one side of the pitch to the other. I think they just put Liverpool under a lot of pressure, and lots of teams don't do that. Lots of teams really do kind of just sit back and let Liverpool dictate things. And I think in previous seasons, probably Arsenal would have done the same, but the form that they're in, the way that they've been playing recently, I think it was a bold approach really from them. It's one that's not paid off in the end, but generally speaking, if they play like that most weeks, they'll be absolutely fine. So, yeah, I think it was a combination. Liverpool didn't play particularly well. You thought they had to kind of match the energy really that Arsenal was showing, and in the second half, they got the goal at the important time. I mean, yeah, there was a big save as well from Alisson, which I think was a big moment. Big pass from Diogo as well, I thought wasn't brilliant, but made the assist for the opener. I think that's, again, it's the sign really of a title winning team, isn't it? They take the big moments and they come out in top of those. So yeah, they did okay to start with. I thought had a bit of a period where they were a bit shaky, but in the end, deserving winners.
We'll move on to the goals, but do you think at half time, was it Jurgen Klopp maybe said something, or do you think the players themselves, because it's such a talented, experienced squad, do you reckon they knew that to drag it up themselves? Because they really did come out changed, Matt, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they will have known that themselves. I think you could see that Jurgen Klopp was getting a bit wound up. He had a bit of a go at Fabinho at one point. The referee maybe wasn't doing what he wanted him to. I'm pretty sure that Sadio Mane would have frustrated him as well at certain times, because he wasn't quite doing the job that he was meant to be doing in terms of keeping hold of the ball. Even Diogo Jota, apart from the goal, didn't really touch the ball a huge amount in the game. So I'm sure there were elements that he would have tried to correct and tried to kind of do that. But like you say, they're an experienced group. They would have known what they needed to do better. I think, collectively and individually, they weren't anywhere near the best in that first half. They obviously improved in the second half and get the goals at the right times. But I don't know. I just think it's that title winning thing, isn't it? It's not a case of, with Arsenal, Mikel Arteta will set them up in a certain way and they will basically play to the letter of how he tells them to. I think there is that level of trust really with Jurgen Klopp and his senior players that they can kind of play themselves through it. And I think probably in the back of most of their heads as well, they knew that they had Mohamed Salah on the bench. They knew that they had Roberto Firmino. They've got so many other players. Harvey Elliott wasn't in the squad. You've got Naby Keita, who didn't come on. You've got so many other options that I I think Jurgen Klopp probably would have been comfortable as long as Liverpool didn't go a goal down tonight. I think that was crucial really to keep it at 0. Even when you're not playing well, you've got to keep that clean sheet for that period. And at the other end, you just know that there would be a chance at some point. And it was obviously Diogo Jota that broke the deadlock, but it could quite easily have been one or two of the other many attackers that Liverpool have.
Well, exactly that. I'm going to move on to the Jota goal because the reinforcements were getting ready just before the goal happened. Ramsdale probably is going to get a bit of criticism for it. Letting it in at his near post was poor, but the pass from Thiago, and I actually think the finish from Jota, very, very well taken goal, Matt, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an unbelievable pass, wasn't it, to play him in. I think, like I said before, Thiago didn't particularly have the best game. The closest he'd come to making an assist before that was at the other end, wasn't it, when he played in Lacazette. So, yeah, I think there was a lot to like about that performance from a number of players in the key moments, which is important, I think, in these games, and that was one of them from Thiago. I thought that was exceptional. Obviously, the finish as well. I think it's slightly fortunate in the sense that Ramsdale probably earlier in the season maybe saves that. I think he's maybe not been quite as good in the last couple of weeks as maybe what people were getting very excited about him early on in the season. I think it's one that he should save, but Diogo Jota did what he had to do from a striker's perspective, put it on target, see what happens, and even had the goalkeeper parried it out. There were other players in there that could have maybe followed that up. So yeah, Diogo Jota didn't have a huge amount to do in the game, didn't have that many touches. I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but you put the ball in the back of the net and you do that, then those are the only things that matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's that one touch that mattered, doesn't it? But the reinforcements did come on, and Roberto Firmino, one of those, did get a goal. He seems to score so many away from home, Matt, doesn't he? And getting that second goal was so crucial. Andy Robertson, tenacious, winning the ball back as ever. And then what a finish from Firmino again, Matt. And, could this be one of the biggest goals of the season?
Yeah, he's got a knack for it, hasn't he? I've not double checked this, but I saw someone tweet before that that's 7 goals he scored now coming off the bench for Liverpool, which is maybe a bit of a new role for him, isn't it? I mean, he's not going to play from the start most weeks for Liverpool because of the quality and the depth of options that they've got. But if you've got someone like him who can come off the bench and do that, particularly in a game like this, I think that was exactly what Liverpool needed in terms of obviously the goal, but in terms of just having someone who could keep hold of it and hold the ball up, not in a kind of big man number 9 type style, but just literally take the ball to feet, hold off a couple of challenges, pass the ball on to someone else. I think Diogo Jota just didn't do that, and Roberto Firmino we know can do that. So I think that was the thinking. It was absolutely the right decision at that moment in the game, regardless of the goal, whether that had gone in or not. That double change was going to be made. So yeah, we know what we get from Roberto Firmino these days, and I think if that is his role for the remainder of his contract, or if there is a new contract for him, I think it's a role that he can be really useful in, because he's scoring goals when he's given the opportunities this season. I know he's had injuries, but if you actually look at the number of goals that he gets per minute, it's really impressive. And I think, yeah, as I say, it's not a bad option. Him and Mohamed Salah to come off the bench, Arsenal must just have been dreading that.
It's a strange one to be coming away with that 2-0 win, Matt, because the attackers at times did struggle, didn't they? Particularly Sadio Mane and, of course, Mohamed Salah. He did have that injury. He could only start on the bench, and unfortunately, I can't use my no Salah headline because he did come onto it. But he wasn't quite at the races again, Matt. Do you think he is still carrying that knock?
Yeah, I think that would be fair to say. I think he's not quite been at it, has he, the last couple of weeks. And to be honest, I don't think that the rest would have done him any harm tonight. I think that's probably a sensible thing, and it probably means that if he is fully fit and fully ready at the weekend, it means that he'll probably play against Nottingham Forest, where you'd fancy him to be a key man and probably to get a goal or two in that one. So I don't think it's the worst thing. I think he'll have been frustrated not to have played. I think you saw that a little bit when he came on tonight, but listen, it wasn't a perfect performance from him, but it is what it is. When you've got that many quality attackers, you don't need them all to be firing at the same time. I think that's what Liverpool have needed, isn't it, recently? Just that ability really to just let one or two of those players take the goal-scoring burden. If one of them doesn't do it, then somebody else will. And it's not always been the case, but it very much is at the moment.
Well, last and by no means least as well, I'd love to talk about the defence, because they do sometimes, they're sometimes the unsung heroes of this season so far, particularly Joel Matip. He's been exceptional this year, one of my players of the season. Tonight again, Matt, I thought Matip was just unbelievable, sweeping everything up.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I thought Virgil van Dijk was excellent, and I thought probably Andy Robertson was maybe the best of the bunch for me. But I can certainly see the argument really for Joel Matip. And I mentioned Allison before. It's a it's a back five, isn't it? Really, when you include him in it as well. And it was a big save for him at 0-0 from Lacazette. And I just think all of them have done really well tonight. I think Matip was good, obviously player of the month and all the rest of it. Jurgen Klopp was asked about him a few times over the last few weeks, and he's rightly giving him praise. I thought it was interesting actually in the build up on Tuesday. He said that he doesn't think it's the best form that Joel Matip's been in. He thinks he's been doing this before. It's just that people haven't necessarily noticed. I'm not quite sure I agree with that. I think he's been brilliant this season, and I think obviously Virgil van Dijk is the best player, the best centre-back in the world. But I don't think, Joel Matip in current form is a million miles away from him. So, yeah, I think it was a good performance. It was probably a good performance as well. I think you've got to say that Arsenal did try and get down that side of the pitch. I thought Martinelli got the better of Trent quite a few times, which is no real surprise. Obviously, a really good player, a player that Jurgen Klopp, I'm sure, will probably talk about post-match because he usually does when Liverpool play against him. So I think it was a bit of a test for him and for Matip to be able to help Trent out with that is obviously testament to his quality as well. So, yeah, a clean sheet for them. No one played particularly poorly. Trent probably the least good of all of them, but I thought even he had some decent moments. So, yeah, plenty of positives all around.
Yeah, maybe it's not Matip stepping up this season. Maybe it's all of us watching him stepping up and realising how good he actually is. But Matt, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you to all of you for watching along as well. So Liverpool are now just 1 point behind Premier League leaders Manchester City, and they've played the same amount of games. So should Liverpool win their next game at Watford after the international break, they will go ahead of Man City. But up next for Liverpool is Sunday's FA Cup trip to Nottingham Forest, where the Reds will be looking to book yet another trip to Wembley. We'll, of course, return with a debrief post-match then, hopefully, to talk about an FA Cup semi-final. But until then, it's goodbye for now.